All right, so welcome to the two class. Today we're going to be talking about other essential HTML elements that you can use. If you look at the site here now, we talked about the text yesterday, but it's not only text that is here. You see some other element like the buttons, um, forms, and so forth like that. So again, we have media like the image, there like that, which is the same thing being used at this side. Again, you can have videos, audio, depending on the type of the data you are trying to present or you are trying to showcase to the user there like that. If you want to collect their contact or you want to get information from the user, you need form. With that form, you can collect information from the user there like that. All right, so we have forms, elements that you can use to get information from the user. And we have different controls under the form that you can always use to get the type of the information that you want. So let me go back to the page, which is this our first HTML page. I'm going back to the day two for outline. So we are going to be talking about the list, the media, and we're going to be talking about the form. These are the major or different types of information or element that you can use to present your data to the user there on the screen. So list is cheap, nothing much there. We're just going to be talking about the basic list that we have in HTML. And as you can see, I'm using one of them already to list out the course outline for today, or the class outline. So when you're talking about the list, we have two major type of lists. It's more than that, but these are the two major ones that you are going to be using like that. So list in HTML. So we have different types, but these are the two major ones that you always see being used a lot. So we have order list and we have on order list. So when you're talking about order list, it means it's using the numbering system there like that to outline your content. So when you're talking about the unordered, they are the one that doesn't use number system. And when you're talking about ordered, it use the numbered system there like that. But with CSS, you can make order list to look like so, but by default, this is how it is going to come outside on the screen. So to create another list, it is just this UL. So from on order, so UL. Then for the ordered, then we have OL. And now for you to generate items under them, then you are going to use the LI. LI is just the list item. What are the items on? Both of them are using LI, but UL or OL will determine whether you are dealing with ordered or unordered. Unordered is UL, ordered is OL. This you can see from the name, that's where the tag is coming from. OL, UL. So, but the items, so list items, so that's LI, list then item. So each item under them, you're going to be using LI and it's going to generate the corresponding stuff. But you can actually change the type of this unordered. So that's where something that I supposed to explain yesterday is coming in now, which is known as attributes. So in HTML, we have something known as attributes. And what is attributes? This is what you use to give extra information to your tag. So we use attributes to supply extra information to the tag, because some of these tags, they can behave in different way. You see it being used a lot when we get to the form part like that. So some of these your tag, they can behave in different way. But how do you talk to it to behave in this particular way or to do it in another way? That's where the attribute comes in. So an attribute always follows your tag. After the tag, then you have attribute. So you have attribute with self-closing tag, or you have it inside the opening tag, not the closing one. Self-closing tag can have attributes and opening tag can have attribute. But the closing tag, we don't place attribute there. That one is just to close your tag. And when you're talking about the attribute, it have two parts. It have the name of the attribute and it have the value of the attribute. The value is always in quotes. The one beside it here, this one here, is what we call the attribute name. So the attribute name here is cassette here. So for this HTML now, the attribute name is lang and the value is en. But it's not all of them that have value. Some of them they only have name, but majority of them, let's say 90% of all the attributes, they have value attached to them. As you can see, one of them here, so this one is just normal this thing. So some of them, when they are receiving true or for when any one of them that receive true, might not even put the value, just type that attribute, it will still work. But any one of them that require other type of value, then you have to put it here like that. So for example, like this our ul now, there's an attribute that is there known as type. So this type now is an attribute that you can use to talk to the ul the type of the bullet that you want. By default, it is giving us that box like that. And what's wrong with this thing? uh, Come in, I mean, uh oh, so let me pause this thing. Hello. Oh, hello. Yeah, good afternoon. Yes, yes. Yes, I know about it. Yes, but I'm not currently at home. So can you come to what's it, Okin filling station? That's a Greek side. Sorry, and the off. I said I'm not at home right now, so I'm at a Greek. A Greek. That Okin Oloja filling station. Yes, at that Greek Songo link. So once you just get there, just let me know. All right, thank you. All right, let me. All right, so yes, what's your question? For example, talk about the iframe. Yes. That YouTube uses. Yes. And it's an old technology, but YouTube still uses. Yes. So for their video, they have other controls like the share. Yes, everything. The pause, the volume, share, change, settings, and the likes, which yes might not be available on those other ones that we normally use. Is there a way that we can like create this particular one without having to like use or link it to YouTube? Like maybe I want to have a video. The video is available on YouTube. Maybe I can download the video using some other apps that will of course of course once you have the create this set exact type of control that yes feel like you. But it means you have to do a lot of work yourself. Look at it, what we just did now. Within how many seconds we're able to do this. But that one now, you can even spend months for you to do that because it means you have to be creating what YouTube have created for years. You now, that's what we call you are reinventing the wheels. So and in this kind of our world, it's not like all this rating word that you say you are doing plagiarism, whatever stuff. Even in this our own world, people will tell you that, oh, come and use my, okay, they even showcase, see what I built and see the number of people that are using what I built. And that's where the GitHub, you are going to be learning about that in GitHub later on. So this is where you say people putting some of their codes and you now they can share to people and you can go there and use it. Like React now, it was created by Facebook. They started using it in Facebook internally. They want to see that, oh, this thing we can actually make it, we call it open source. Open source means that other people from outside too can contribute to it and it is available for everybody to use for free. But in return, you can always contribute your own quota into it. But when you say source close, close source, it means that thing you cannot see it. It is private. It's only those people that are working for that company or they are assigned to that project can have access to it. And again, they will tell you they are in charge. This is how you use it. This is how you do things. And again, you have to pay for it, or if it is free too, depending on what they want to do. But when it is open source, everybody can go there, contribute, take it, modify it, depending on the license that they put on their stuff like that. And GitHub is where we normally save all this info. For example, here now, you can always come here and just search for, and not put my name there. So if I search for React now, it will tell you all the stuff that people has put here. Can you see? React is coming from Facebook like that. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing. Can you see some other people too have created some stuff related to React in that way? And you can always go there, and if you click on it, it will tell you the number of people that have used this thing. You can see fork. Fork means the people that have a copy. Fork here is just like you create your own copy out of what is here. People that start it are like that, but down here you are going to see, you can see used by 29.9 million. Yeah, but this one now is just like popular people, not even it's not even including me. For I've used it a lot, so it's not. And again, you are going to see people that have contributed to the project are there like that. Again, you are going to see the code. It's not whatever how they create it and everything. You are going to see it and so forth like that. So you too, you can create your own. Like out of what YouTube did, you can create your own. Just like to take you days, if not months, depending on the complexity of what you are trying to do around this. But what YouTube have done in years, your own is just to get it with this thing within 1 minute. You already have everything set up. So I have. So and that's why anything that is hosted on YouTube, you always see people use iframe by copying the link directly. What you just do is to modify the styling of your iframe so that it look, can you see the way it is here now? So going back to our home page, you see the way the iframe looks like here. But going to this side, you see that it's quite different like that. That is somewhere I did it before. I don't know, maybe they've removed it. That is one I did before. It have some items that I actually had at the back of iframe before it gets to this side. That one has been removed. Like yeah, it has been shifted because your site, don't forget, is all about building and modifying. It's not every time that the thing will always remain the same that you are there like that. So that's how this thing works. I think is the home page that I put it. No, this home page. I'm not the one that work on this home page. I don't work on the home page again. The home page has been changed from what it is before to this new home page like that. As you can see, pop up, goes back, and so forth like that. So, but before we need to talk about forms, because that's another important of any website these days. You always see forms, and form is really useful when you need to gather information from the user. Everything you have been doing since is all about giving out information. So people go there, get information. But how do you now collect data from them? So that's where the form comes in there. For example, I have this site here that I built just for playing sake like that. So if I go to this admin now, before we need to know you. And how do we know you? You need to supply your email address. I need to supply your password. Again, once you are done, you sign in. And once you click on sign in, it will check whether your details is okay or not. Like that. Let me use, yeah. I think the database has been disabled. I did not activate it again. I need to activate the database before you can log in, but I don't need to be doing that right now. So back home, view results like that. Put in the OTP. What's the OTP server? Forgotten. Or the same. So again, to look at it here, we have a box. You need to put the OTP because based on the election you want to see, you need to put it correct. You don't just want you to go and be checking another person election there. So just put your and validate it to check. This one too will not go because I've not really activated the DB. I've disabled the database, which is the backend now. Now that's where the data is coming from. So since now you cannot get the data, nothing to show like that. But I told you, all the site that needs this. Even if you go to ChatGPT too, when you are putting something, there's a box for you to, because you need to get information, you need to get data first. Based on that data, process it and do whatever it needs to do. And that's where form comes in. What this site is, what ChatGPT is using here, is what that other side that I just show you is using. All of them are using the same element there like that. So from out of it, you just, where did they keep the input? Yeah, so you can see this is what I'm looking for, this input here. So this text area, so it's part of what we're going to talk about there like that. So but it's not only text area that you can use, there's a lot of them that we have in HTML. So let me scroll to that part and move down. So we have the H1. So we are complete it. Then after that, I have this OL, or let me use UL because it's nothing foreign in particular order. So I have this LI, which is going to be form element like this. So apart from form elements, we have the form controls. So what are the controls? As you can see now, I have nested element node. So the nested that we talked about. So go up now. So we have this. I mean, these are the major one. This is not all, but these are the major one we're going to talk about. So when we bring the other one in later on, it will not look as if we are doing some gibberish. So what is form element? So you can use all this control without the form element. Form element is just useful to collate all the controls together in one place. So when you have a form, you know, form always go together. Like in your form now, you have first name, last name, date of birth, and so forth like that. But you want to everything to be sent together along with that form. Like you want to pack everything together as one form, then send it there. But it's not every time that the form you want to use have to go to that. Sometimes they are not even related to each other on the page and you want to use them. So you can always use all this control anytime you need them separately. But right now, I'm always going to be putting them inside form element. And this is what we call the form element here, which come with these attributes. This attribute is old, but let me quickly explain it like that. It's still being used, but for now, we don't really need it because you'll be using JavaScript these days because you want to add some interaction to your form, like, oh, check whether they've input the correct stuff. If not, if they don't input any correct stuff, show the error under the control. But if they input correct stuff, then don't show any error at all. For example, this is what I'm saying here. If you go to this side now, this one, and you try to sign up here, because you've not fed all this in, as you can see, it's bringing out all these things. So you want to control your form, not that it will just submit without anything. And as you can see, a lot of things that are coming out onto it. So all these things have to be done before you can connect. But this one, as you can see, this one is not expecting you to, like, it's optional. You can see that's why it's not throwing any error. But all this one, they are required. You must feed them and it must follow all the patterns they are expecting from you. For example, here now, you know, if I put phone number, as you can see now, it simply enter the valid digit phone number. The error is different. If you don't put anything, the error is that it is required. But when you change it, it will bring another error based on whether it is correct or not. So that's where this action comes. So action is where you are submitting your form to. Like when you submit your form, where do you want it to send all the data from the controls? Like whatever you type inside all the control, where did you want it to send it to? That's what is action. But we don't need it right now. We're not submitting any form right now. What we just want to do is to group our forms control together like that. And one of the cheapest control that we have here is known as input. So it's the most used one. 90% of the time, you are going to be using this input when you're dealing with forms. You are going to be using input. And these inputs, it comes with different types. And the basic one is just text. So which means on the page, you want to collect different type of information like text. So here, this one allows you to input text like that. So this one, you can always input anything from your keyboard. It will accept it, whether number or word or any symbols, anything you want to use, you can always pass it into it like that. But at some time, you need to streamline the type of the data you want, not just text. Because when you say text, it will collect any type of information there like that. But that's not what I want. For example, I want to collect I want to collect their email. So we have the type for that. But before I go into this, so how do you even know? How the user going to know what information to pass inside the box? If you look at it, if you just give them this box, except you that is working on it with, even later when you come, you too, you come there later on and look at this thing. What am I trying to get from this box? That's where we have label and placeholder comes in. So we have something known as label. So the one that is on top of it here, that is describing your input, this is what we call label. While the one inside the box is what we call placeholder. So that's one that, so you can either use the two of them or one of them. So depending on how you want it like that. So how do you now put placeholder or how do you put label? So to use label, that one is a separate element on its own. So we have label. And what is this for? So you know I told you we talk about accessibility. So which kind of, so this label, you know what we are using it for, to describe this our input. So you know if you just put input, how people that cannot see going to know what is going on there? So this label needs to be connected to this input. But how do you connect them together? That's what this thing is asking for here. For this label, what is it for? Who is it connected to? So, but how do you connect them together? How do you connect them together? So we have a very important attribute here that each element can have, which is known as ID. So how do you, and you know you can have different inputs, but how do you differentiate from one input to another input, or one element to another element? It is their ID. So on the page, anytime you are using ID, each element should have a unique ID. Each element should have a unique ID. So from here now, we can just say the ID of this one is going to be first name or first name like this. But in JavaScript, you cannot be using hyphen like that. So you always use something that JavaScript can, because if you want to access it in JavaScript, you have to be doing extra work to get access to it. So what you can use here is underscore. I will explain it better when we get to JavaScript, or you just close the spacing. But if you look at it, I put N in capital letter. All these things, you are going to know the reason why I'm doing that once we get to JavaScript like that. But for now, I will just say first name like that. Then to connect them together, what you just do is pass the ID of the stuff. So now the two of them are connected together. But we have we done with it? Okay, yeah, I've already, AI has already completed the stuff. So inside this, your label, you put whatever you want to display on the screen. Notice since you have open and closing, you can only put anything inside the form. Almost all the label that you'll be working with, they are text. So almost all of them are always going to be text like that. You can see it from here. What you'll be seeing there, where is it, sir? So what you'll be seeing there is text. If you go to Mailverse contact page too, like that, you see that all those things, even though you are using controls, but you need to talk to them that this is what we are expecting inside. As you can see, the name, the email, the subject, now the message. So let's do something like this too, like that. So how can you do something like this? So what we can just do here, let me just change this one now. Let me change it to name, and here too, we just change it to name directly, so that but if you see there's one asterisk in front of it, you just type that one too, like that, the way you want it to be. So if you want it in that way too, so just remove this, then put the asterisk like that, and again save it, go back to the screen. We should have our name. But all these your form controls too, they are inline elements. So they are inline. So that's why you see that they are this thing. But if you want to group them, so if you want to group them, now we can use that our div now. So div is what we use to create a division. So div is a block element. It doesn't allow things to go with it like that. So if I save this one, that doesn't mean what is inside it, it will move them to different line. It's talking about what is outside of it. So you can see that it's still the same thing. So, but when we get to CSS later on, you see how we can do it better. Like talk to CSS to make them to be on top of each other. What's wrong with this thing? Format my code. Yes, that's another thing we can use here. Why is it not formatting my code? Let me see what it's saying. Because it's supposed to format my code. So he said he cannot find one stop there. There's no issue here now. This prettier is close, then save. Still not formatting my, oh, it's complaining about this list. But I don't care for now. I will come back into that one. Let me just shift them inward like that. Because it's always good that you arrange your code should be properly formatted. So if you want to put them on top of each other now, you can now use this one. And as you can see, it's going to be on top of it. So now we can create another copy of it like that because they are the same. But the other one now, you know, that one is email. So that one is I don't want this thing to select. It's the lowercase and uppercase. So the area is even coming already. So let me just update it. But let me expand this thing very well so that you can see. So now as you can see, we have another type known as email. So what this one will do is that it will give browser suggestion about the type of the data you want to collect there like that. And again, too, on your mobile, if it is mobile you are checking, you see that the keyboard, on the keyboard it will be showing the at symbol and the dot. This is because this is how the keyboard knows about what is going on. So when you give it correct type, if you use that first one, since it can be anything, your keyboard is going to be generic. But once you use type email, once you use your browser and you click on that box, it will change the keyboard automatically to of that. But you not see any effect here like that. So as you can see, we have this email. So now this thing is going to fail, and as you can see, the browser is bringing some suggestion like that. Yeah, so that's the stuff. So this is for the email, but it's not only email that we have different types that you can always use. So just remove the email and replace it with the type you want. I'll be talking about this checkbox and the radio later on when we need them. So those one, you know, the checkbox that you see, maybe you go to Google this form, they will tell you to pick from the list of the, not the drop down one. Like you have all the option, but you need to select. So that's the, let me return this one back to the this and let me use this one. So this one I'm just going to use input like this, but here is going to be, if it is the number you want to collect, so once you save it, you are going to see that it will bring out a box. On your phone it will show the number pad, but here, you know, this is computer, so it's not virtual, but what you see there is this arrow that you can always use to increase or decrease the number. You can even mention the minimum value or maximum value, because all these things they have other attributes that you can pass to them. For example, like this email now, you can say it is required. So which means when you want to submit this form, you must always fill it before you'll be able to submit. But how do you submit? So yeah, let's just quickly add the button. So to submit, you can always use button like this, submit. This is one way of doing it like that. But this button can be used inside the form or outside the form. And again too, you can group them inside form or use another element to group them together like div. You can use it. But the problem with div is that all this control doesn't know about each other. They don't know that they are supposed to go as a form. Even if you click on this button too, it will not submit. But if you group them with form, HTML knows that everything under it is all about the form control. So any form control you are using under it, they are going to work the way they are supposed to work. And the way this button work is that anytime you use it under form, it will act as a submit button by default. Anytime you put button anywhere inside form element, that button is going to act as submit. But you can actually change the type, because it's not every time that you want your button to submit. There's a button here maybe you want to use to clear. You want to use it to clear only the email, or you want to use it to pre-fill the email, or you want to do something. But no, all those ones you don't want them to call any API, but they will call API or do whatever you want, but they will still submit your form. So if you don't want it to submit your form, this one, the button actually have what we call type. As you can see, it can act as a normal button as if it is outside of the form. So you always do it like this inside form anytime you need to do normal stuff. But if it is of submit, you don't even need to type it at all. That's the way it's going to work out of the box. When it is inside, the way the button works is that when it is inside form, it is acting like submit. But when it is outside form, it acts as normal button. So it doesn't do anything outside of the form. But once it's inside form, it will act as a submit there like that. So whether we put this in there or we don't put it, we put it submit or we don't put submit, it will still do the same work. But if you don't want it to submit, and again, if you want to reset your form, but this one is bad because this is, imagine someone has already filled a lot of form, they want to click on submit and then now go and mistakenly click on reset. You know, people will hate your site and they will not want to come back again. So you don't see people using reset these days. What you do is to maybe go there yourself and clean whatever you want. Not that you, because there's nothing like are you sure you want to clean this? Once you click on it, that's the end of the stuff. It will wipe off everything like that. So you don't see people using reset these days. What you only see is this button or the submit type like that. So those are the one you always see. But if you don't pass the type, it is submit by default inside form. So that's how it works. So let me just remove this one and put submit, but it's not a must that you put it like that, and that's what is going to submit your form. But don't forget, we put one of them to be required. So now if I click on submit, can you see the browser will kick in? But you know, the design is not looking like that one that actually specify the error. So this is the browser basic stuff. So if you want to do your own, then you have to hijack it from the browser and use JavaScript there like that. But for now, we don't need that because we are dealing with normal HTML in that way. So we have this button, and if it is the other one you want, it will not submit the form at all. So there's another way of doing it. You can actually do input, but this one is going to be type of button. So this is another way, but I don't like this one. Why? Because you cannot customize it like this one. Because you know, this one is having opening and closing. Anything that have open and closing means you can put anything inside. But this one you cannot put anything inside it. It's just normal button. You can style it, but you cannot put any other thing inside it. The only thing you can change is the value, and to change the value is just by putting it here. So to change the text, the only thing you can change is the text that is inside it. For example, click me like this. So save, and once you go back to the page, as you can see, it will show. But this one now, I can put image inside it. I can put anything that I want. But this one you cannot put. The only thing you can put is the text. That's why you won't see people using this one a lot. This one is the olden days that you'll be doing like this. If it is that button, or again too, if it is the reset, you do it like this. And if it is submit, you do it like this too. But the disadvantage of this one is that you cannot style it. You cannot put anything apart from text inside it. So that's the only thing about it like that. So me, I don't like to use it because of that. Because I want to always customize my button, like put icons and everything inside it like that. Do I do anything like that here? No, I do not put any icon inside this one. But you can always put icon beside the text. But with that input on, you cannot do it. You cannot put anything inside it. It's only the text that it will allow you to put. But if you go to some site, you'll see that inside their button, they actually put extra stuff inside it like that. Okay, so that's about the input, but the input go more than this. Now I told you it go more than this, but when we want to start using them later on, you'll be saying, now I talked about this one. You can only specify the minimum and the maximum that you want to take. Again, too, you have something like this range. So it supports range. But the disadvantage of some of these input is that the way it works on Windows is quite different from the way it works on Mac. But you know, when you do your design, you want your design to be the same thing across the system. So we have the way we used to do all this. So instead of using all these elements directly, you can always use some UI library, which is all those frameworks now. So they are the one that, yeah, library. So the UI library just mean a bunch of UI element that is pre-made for you to use, and you can customize them according to your taste. Like this one now, we did not start creating them from scratch. We use a UI library, then we now style it according to our own brand guideline and so forth like that. So you can always create them from scratch yourself, but that means you must have all the other operating system. You have to test it across and check whether it's working or not. Because there's something you do here, it will be working on Windows or it will be working on one browser. When you go to another one, it will not display in another way. So when you go to Firefox, you see this thing now will not work. This thing that is showing, you can see that I changed the color of this thing here now. So let me check, do I have Firefox here? So Firefox, I don't think I install it here. Firefox. So I will download it later on. Like that. Yeah, I think I have it. No, I don't have it. This one will go to the browser. So let me install. Let me go to their market. So we install. You see that this thing that is working because I changed this handlebar here. But Firefox, it's kind of hard to change this thing. It will not work because the way you change it on all the Chrome-like browser, it's not the same way it works on Firefox. So there's something. So, but those people now that built UI library, they've done it in a way that it works across the browser and across the operating system, like that. So you don't need to be worrying yourself about whether it will look the same. But for now, when you're building simple stuff, you don't need to be going to them to start doing all those paparazzi, like that. So let me install it. So another type of controls that we have here is known as text area. So we have input, but the problem with input is that you cannot use input to collect information that have to go to multiple lines. Input can only work for details that will just be one line. You cannot press enter to move to the next line. As you can see, you just move to the next input. Whatever information you are passing your input, it has to be one line. So which means input are good for short text. But when you want to collect information or text that need to span multiple lines, then you have to go with the text area. So input for collecting short like email, first name, last name, your full name, and so forth like that. You'll be using that. But when you get to something like this, ChatGPT now, you know ChatGPT, when you are typing, your text can only go to multiple lines, not just one line. That's the reason why they are using text area. So text area, even though they've styled it, because this is not the way text area look like, but they've styled it and remove some stuff here, like that. But and again add some little bit of JavaScript so that it's work according to the way they want it to work. But behind the scene is just basic text area that is going on there. And how do you bring text area in? It's just like the way you type this, your input, you type the text area too, like that. So we have a text area like this. So this text area now, it comes with something known as rows and column, which I don't like to use. As you can see, it comes with columns and rows. I don't like to use them because with my CSS, I can control the width and the height. What that rows just mean is that how many number of lines do you want to have before you start expanding upward. So here now, if I put maybe like 10, I think this is what is there by default. So save it like that. What this means is that you are going to have 10 lines of words before you started expanding for them, like that. So once this thing is saved, so let me go back to the page. You see now I have this like that. So no, where's my columns? I have this my columns. Columns is just as if you are talking about this thing. But I don't like to use them because they don't really work well for me. So, and again, I always want to control the stuff with width and the height, like by using my CSS. But for now, let me just put this one there. So let me just put the rows. What's going on? Rows, let me just put 30 like that, so it can have more heights. As you can see, it's going to have more heights height to it, but that doesn't mean you cannot adjust. You can actually have this handle that you can use to adjust it. But again too, when you go to site, they used to remove this handle. As you can see, it will be destroying your design that you've already have, because the user can just be doing nonsense there like that. So you disable it, but we normally do that from CSS. So this one, let me return it to 15. Let me put it to 15 like that. That should be okay. So save, yeah. And again too, for the columns, like that, I can just put maybe like codes like this should just be 50. This thing has changed my keyboard again. Back to US. So save like this, and as you can see now, they're already expanded. But if you don't want, you use CSS, which is something we'll be using later on. So this one now, it allows you to put information on the multiple line. But if you know that ChatGPT one, you look like input at first until you press enter. It's because they added some JavaScript into it so that it will expand upward. But again too, it have where it to stop too. like that. So the text editor will not come first. It is input that will come. But once you press enter, it will now switch it to it. But know that it's some JavaScript code that they are doing behind the scene. But behind the scene, this text area is there, and you can now style it according to the way you want it, like that. Another set of controls that we have is this select. So this one allows you to pick from the list of options. Maybe I will be adding that one to later on to want to have the form page for that. So where when the people that want to register, so they need to pick the course that they want to register for. No, that one they don't need to type. We already know, we already have the list of the courses we are offering. So at that point, you don't need to type anything. Your own is to pick from the list. So when you have all the option already, it's now left for the user to pick from that option. That's where select comes in. But select too works like that your checkbox. The difference there is how you are representing how the user is going to pick the options, like that. But for this select, so for the select, that one to have its own element, which is known as this select. You can see they always have ID or name if you want to attach. Name is how you're going to send the form to the backend. So you use this name to pick the value. The browser will use whatever name you use here to send the value that you type there. But for now, we don't care about it. That's why you see that I just left them empty, because that's not what we are talking about right now. But you have the time that they are going to be useful like that. So what do we actually need here? Inside this your select. So if you save it and go to the page, you just see a box like that. What you just see is a box. So as you can see, what you just see is a box, because you've not really specified what they are going to pick from it, like that. So to put it, we have options. So this option here is what you are going to be using, like that. So the value is what you want to set to the backend, and whatever you put in between, that's what they are going to see on the screen. But if the value and what you are showing on the screen are the same thing, you don't even need to use this one. But most of the time, for old browser sake, you should always put it. So for example, here now we have color, maybe like red, like that. So the value, this is what we are sending, where the user pick this one, but this is what we want to show. So red color. This is what they are going to see. Red color is what they are going to see. Once they pick it, this is the value it will be sent to backend while you are sending this your form. So again, option like that. So this one is going to be blue like that, and this is going to be a blue color like that. So and at the same time, green color. So give me another one too. Yellow color. Give me another one. Give me another one. So give me another one. Assuming is I'm using anti-gravity now, it will not be doing it one by one for me like this. Once you just press enter, this is what you used to do it sometime. It will just bring like multiples one like that. So let me go back to the page now. You see now, and it's going to pick the, like the first one will be appearing automatically. Not that it pick it to, but that's what is going to appear. Where's my, okay, I did not put anything. What's wrong with this? Blue color like that. Color like this. So save, go back there, and you're going to see the list of options. So this is one way of presetting your data, but this one is really useful when your option is really large. But sometimes, if your option is really small, or you want them to see all the options at once, you can always use what we call checkbox. So instead of you using this method, what we can do here is to use inputs of type checkbox like that. So this one, this one now you have open and closing. This one does not have that. You have to be typing beside. No input, you cannot put anything inside. Once you do checkbox, it will not give you that box to type again. It will give you another set of controls, because inputs can act in different ways based on the type that you supply to it. So if I go back, can you see now? So this one now you cannot type. The only thing you can do is to check. It's still the same input. The one that generated this one that you can type here is the one that is generating this one too, like that. So that's how it works. All right. So where do I stop? So we have this input of checkbox like that, just like what I mentioned before. So what you normally do is to wrap this one inside its label so that it will be easier to work with. So what we normally do is wrap it inside label, or you can put label and that element in a div like that. Maybe you want to do some custom styling on it, so you can. But for now, I'm just going to put it there, and beside it, I will just have this kind of I have agreed to your whatever stuff like that. So going back to the page, as you can see now, they are going to be there. But as you can see, it's not clicking at all. Why? Because they are not connected together. Now I told you about this one, then when you connect them. So for example, if I click on this label now, can you see that it activates that box automatically? I did not click on the box. What I click on is the label, but because they are connected together, it will activate it. So the same thing too can be done for this. The user doesn't need to come back to this small box before it can be activated. Whatever stuff beside it too should be able to activate it. That's what we call accessibility. It's like your app is more accessible to the user. They are not stressing themselves before they are able to use your site. So it's not that you can say that everything is still displayed correctly, but just that it's not accessible. So it go beyond just you putting content on the screen or just wiring them together. It should be able to, like, it should be accessible too. And how do you make this one to be accessible now? What we just need to do is to give this one the I don't forget the ID is what you can use to get to it. Then four, then this one is not going to be agreed there. So since the ID and the four are now connected together like that. So if you go back to the page and once it's done loading, you can see I don't need to go to the box to click because they are now the same. So the user can always click on any of the text. Now it's kind of easier to use this box rather than the way it is before that they have to come to this side every time. So accessibility is not just for people that cannot see or people that don't have hand. Even for those normal people too, it make them to be able to interact with your site easily without doing a lot of work like that. So that's this major form controls that we have. Yes.
Terms and conditions. For
Yes.
some websites, you see that the condition is like they place an hyperlink or an
Yes, you can do
underline.
it. That's all you see now that we've talked about. What they are now doing is you are now combining them together to form what is right. So like this one now, this time and condition now, what we just need to do is to convert it to a link or wherever your times is like that. So again, too for this one is going to be a like this, and we pass the stuff. So we'll save. Going back to the page now. So anytime they click on this, it will take them to that one. If it is link, no, we did not put anything. Anytime you don't put your href, it's just going to use your default, the page you are currently working on. That's what it will use. But now, if I want to take them to maybe like event now, for example, you can just say the events like this. So events. So for this one, for the condition, it's going to go to about like that. So save. So now once you get to this page, once you click on this, to go to that place. Then the same thing for this one too. Once you click on condition, then it will go to the other. That you are now combining them together. What we are doing before this, explaining each one of them. But when you are using them in a real sense, you always combine them together to achieve what you want in that way. So these are the major types of. But before we go, I want to talk about this more about this checkbox and radio because there are two types. This one is the checkbox. We have another one too, which is known as radio. So, for example, I have this label like that. So let me just say red, and from here I'm going to have input of radio like this. This is VS Code stuff to quickly type everything. So it knows that I want to generate type of, as you can see, it will auto complete for me. It's very much like you do like that, but when you're at so for this one, I don't need the name. What I just need here is the ID. Then beside it, I'm going to put red like that. In this, what's wrong with this here? Okay, I spreaded the second one. So save like this. But something is going to happen here. He has done it, the AI has done it, but I don't want it to do it for me. So let me remove them first so that you can see the effect. He has already corrected the stuff, but you know, you that you don't understand, we don't know what the reason why Why did he put the same name for the two of them? There's a reason why he's putting the same name, because that's how you are going to be working with radio. So by default, the way radio work is that you can only pick one out of the option. When you know that they can pick multiple this options, then you are going to use checkbox. So maybe like this red or blue now. If you wanted to be able to select the two of them or one of them or none of them, you use checkbox. But if they have to select only one, like that election that I talked to that side now, I use this in there because we have the list of candidates. So there's no way we have president, you now be voting for the two of them. You have to vote for one of them. If there are three, you can only pick one. If there are 10, you can only pick one. Even if it is one, you can only pick one. So that's radio there like that. But right now it will not work like that. That's where it's supposed to work, but it doesn't work like that out of the box. You have to be the one that will put something there that will make it work, which is what that AI put there. So now if I click on this, as you can see that it has activated this one. Another problem with radio is that you cannot remove it once you select. The only way you can remove it is to click another one. So but now they are not connected. So if I click this one now, as you can see, it's picking that one too as separate. So they don't know about each other, that they are together. So in order for them to know that they are coming from the same family, you must give them the same name. This attribute name must be the same thing for all of them, all those radio. Any radio you want to connect together must have the same name. So and that's the reason why you see that the AI puts color there, because that's the name I want to use to group them together. So anywhere you click on this, enter you click on this and you later click on this, since they are bearing the same name, the browser will be toggling them from each other. Even if I have another one, as long as they are having the same name, they must, the condition there is that it must be the same name. As you can see that AI still put the same name there. If the name are not the same, that means they are not together. If the name is not there, what's wrong with this thing? Complete it now. Another one again. Give me another one. Sure, like this. So save. Let's go back to the page. So now the four of them are connected together. But if I only want to connect the three, I can just change the name of this one to something else. Once the name is not the same, that means this last one is not part of them. So now if I click on red, click on green, you see that now it will toggle because they have the same name. The browser knows what to do once we put the same name there. But if their name is not the same, for example, if I click on this yellow now, that one will not be there because that one names is color one, while the other one are just normal color. So when you have a radio, you always use radio when you have a lot of options, but you have to pick one out of it. And when you have a series of options, but you can pick one or more from that list, then you are going to use checkbox. It's still the same thing you'll be doing for that one too. You'll be giving them the same name, but it's not a must you give them the same name. But in order for them to know that they are the same family, like the brother knows that it's supposed to send them together, is you must give the name too for that checkbox. But if you don't give the name for checkbox, you know that one you can actually select multiple, so it doesn't care. But radio, the name must be the same. If you want to connect them together, the name must always be the same. So that's how that one works like that. So on the group, there's some stuff I'm going to send that you are going to work against the next class that we're going to be having there like that. But before we go, it's not only div that you can use to group elements together. We have some other elements that you can use for grouping that you are going to be seeing using later on like that. So grouping in HTML like this. So we have series of elements that you can use to group other elements together like that. So we have something like section. So this is one element that you can use to group other elements together. Let me allow the AI to bring them. We have article. We have article like that. We have header. Header is different from head though. That header you saw that time, that one is head, but this one is known as header. So this one is used to group any header part of a particular section together. It's not just header of your site, particular section. We have footer, we have div already, so everybody know div because that's the one we have before the other one. We have span. This span is used. This span you can think of it like your div, but this one is inline. You know, div is block. So when you want to do grouping of inline, you are going to be using span. By default, it is inline. So which means whatever you put inside it, if those things are inline, they will go side by side, but only that group. It will be a group, but it is inline. So it's used to group inline elements together. So if you have multiple elements you want to group together and they are inline, so you can always use span. So it will make sure that they still maintain their inline, but they are in a group. But when you use div, whatever that one will take up is online. It doesn't allow. So every other one, like all this section, article, div, they are block element. Only span out of them is inline. Every other one are blocks. So for example, here too, we have header like that. Another one that we have is footer, to group the footer area of a particular section together. For example, now, if you go to this mail verse, you have different section there, like that. You can see there's a section for the map, there's a section for the form. You can think of this entire area here now as the header. So you can use header to group all this content together. So inside the group of header, you have this, and you can see that the background of that one is quite different from the background of this one because they are grouped. So you can use header to group all this one together. But it's not a must, because I use WordPress here. So it doesn't use all those new one. What mostly you see here is just the div, like that. But sometimes you can actually talk to it which element you want to use. But a lot of the element you be seeing here is just div, because that's the old one, and that's what has been there in this in WordPress or the tooling that I'm using, which is Elementor, like that. So a lot of the stuff you be seeing here is just div, but you can use this other one that are here. They are part of the HTML5, like that. There's a lot of them, but you only see me using all this one. Again, too, for the nav, we use this nav to group the navigation part of your site together. Like this one are the services, the program, the partner. No, they are a group there. So you can use nav to group them. But you'll be seeing here now is group with div. Nobody is stopping you from not using div, like that. Because div has been there right from HTML1. So you can always use it. But when you are working with a new design or you are doing it yourself, this side now you can call it nav. You can use the nav to group them together, like that. And why do you need to group? You are going to see the reason you need to group in CSS later on, because you only want to apply some CSS to a particular section, not everywhere. So, and if you don't group it, there is no way it's going to work the way you're expecting it to work, like that. So these are the grouping elements you'll be seeing me using as from next class there. So section, article, div, header, footer. Now, most especially this div, section or header. This div, I'll be using it a lot because it's number one. You always see on every site, number one grouping element. And again, too, in some places, you see span, and you can always style it to look like this or that one. And by default, they don't give you any styling. They are not giving you any styling at all. Whatever styling you want, you do it from your CSS. And in the next class, we're going to be talking about how to include CSS on our page. We don't want to spend too much time on HTML. Where the work is CSS and JavaScript. That's where you'll be spending 90% of your time. HTML is just 10%. Other one is just CSS and the functionality, which is the JavaScript there, like that. So nothing much on the HTML. We are not done with HTML too, but based on what we have right now, based on these two classes, you can start doing something that's related to HTML. And that's the reason I'll be sending you some assignment to work on against the next class. So I will check it out. Anyway, I need to make correction, I'll make it, because you listening right now doesn't mean everything has stick. It's when you want to do it that you started seeing something will started coming out. And when you are typing it, that moment, that's where they're going to be like be in your head rather than you listening alone, like this. So that's how things work in this world. You have to practice, and doing practice means you type it yourself, not that if you do copy and paste. You use your hand to type the stuff. That's how you learn, like that. So that's going to be all for today. We don't have much, but in the next class we're going to do a lot because CSS is really wide. But we are going to pick what we need to at the place there, like that. So what we need is what we are going to pick, so that you too you'll be able to start doing something like you can see logo is by this side, while every other content they are by the other side. That's CSS going on here. But what are they using? As from next week, you understand how to do something. But now you already know how to place image, because this is image here. just that it's now placed inside link and you not use text. So if you check the code now, you see that what is here is just a link, but inside that link you have image, and the image, can you see, we've talked about, can you see the A, we've talked about it, the image, we've talked about it. You are now combining those elements together to form what you want on the page. Again, to this button here, we've talked about them like that. To include all this icon, we have, you can use image to include them, but if you look at it, that the color of this one is changing, so you have to do it in a way that, because you cannot change the color of image. So there we have a separate way of doing something like this, that it will, you'll be able to affect it from CSS. You cannot use CSS to change the color of your image. If you want to change the color of this icon, you cannot use image for that. But I will show you how to do all this by using what we call SVG files like that, because HTML SVG too is like HTML code. So since it's like HTML code, you can always change it, the styling from CSS directly like that. So that's how this thing works. That will be all. Please, if I did not remember to send that stuff, just drop message on the group that you've not dropped this thing. All right, thank you.